This is video 93, Empire Total War, United Provinces, played on hard. We've had a pretty hard battle actually, a gruelling battle. You can see there are still enemy troops off to our left there. At the end of the last video we were talking about possibly chasing the enemy away. Now we've broken them in the centre, or pulling back. And if you remember, I said that we're going to follow the age-old principle, reform the old 18th century lines, ready for the next assault if there is to be one. So we're in a nice line formation to welcome anybody, if that's the right word to use. Okay, this is my cavalry. Well, I say they're cavalry. They're actually sort of the equivalent of dragoons, really. They're mounted auxiliaries that I'm charging into that flank now, just to give myself some breathing space from them. We've still got other troops here. Presumably they're the ones that got snarled up inside the town, fighting the firelock armed citizenry. He's still got cavalry around, by the way, and of course we've still got the benefits of our chevaux de frise. So I'm pulling everything back behind that chevaux de frise, and anything that decides to attack me can go over there first, and we'll watch them all skewer themselves on the wooden spikes as they do so. Got some more that have sneaked through here. We're going to have to take those out before we reform our lines. It's easy enough to think the battle's won, isn't it? You know, lots of the enemy were routing in front of us, but he's still got lots of flank attacks all over the place. And if you're hit by flank and rear attacks, it can break your morale. And once one unit goes, another one can go too. Then you suddenly find that the battle's completely turned round, and you're routing instead of him. You see in the background there, my troops chasing his away there. They're ones that had obviously been set on melee attack, and they've gone off on their own. Well, they've gone off doing what I told them to do, to be honest, attacking that particular enemy. But, oh, looks like we've got some enemy horse there as well. Just waiting to have a go at my infantry there, weren't they, you see? That could well have raised the morale of the other troops around, so I could have ended up with the whole of that lot coming back then, you see. His cavalry going into the side of my chasing or pursuing infantry, at the same time that this flank attack was going in from here. This is one of the problems with fighting Indian nations, whether they're in the European employ or not. They do tend to move very, very fluidly all around you, so you can expect them in either flank and then to come back and do the same again, or even go all the way around to your rear and just suddenly appear. There you go, there's his cavalry, you see, falling on the chevaux de frise. Chevaux de frise don't cost you anything. All you've got to do is stay in the same place for more than one complete turn and have a general with your army. We laid them down, if you remember, in a kind of crescent formation shape, and then withdrew into a single line behind them. We don't want that sort of convex sort of shape when we're meeting the enemy. We want a nice line formation. Not only that, by pulling back into a line, it gave me the chance of advancing forward as well towards any what are they called? I'm not sure, native musketeers or something, that have a higher reach than a longer reach than mine, a longer range of musketry fire. Okay, so reforming the lines. It does look now that since those two flank attacks are gone, and since that cavalry who chased my those pursuing troops that I withdrew have died on the chevaux de frise, it does look as though the battle's over. Unfortunately, I know I've said this before, it's absolutely imperative that you put battles on a timer. You notice down by the circle on the bottom left of the screen there is no timer clock there showing that there's a certain length for this battle, so it'll go on forever. He's got, I think it's 2 or 3 lots of artillery. He'll have a general's bodyguard that's sitting there with the artillery, all down at the bottom of that hill there beyond the town. If you remember, I set my troops up on this side of the town, so that he had to charge through the town in order to get to me. So I've now got to go all the way down to the other end to catch up with them, really. And while your troops are quite depleted and you haven't got a lot of horse, it's not the easiest thing to do, to go assaulting artillery and and cavalry. Like I said, when your troops are quite exhausted. Anyway, this is finishing off some of his flanking infantry. Okay, phase out and phase in there. This is my infantry. I've come all the way down the left-hand side of the battlefield, hidden behind a stone wall as much as I can, before assaulting his artillery from the side. That took me about 25 minutes to do all of that, so I think you'll be quite grateful that I phased that out. There you go, his artillery. He's got his cavalry in the background there, as you can see still, watching over his artillery. That'll be his general's bodyguard. I sent all my infantry units down here to do this. He managed to get a shot in against my cavalry from a distance, which meant that they routed from the field. So I haven't got those here anymore. The game is placed on pause here while I decide how best to tackle really the cavalry at the back. Infantry that aren't in square, that are just on melee attack, who are not even going to get a shot in, can well be vulnerable, so I'm just paying a bit of attention to that. Looks like all his artillery are going now, so I'm going to hit his cavalry. I know it's strange, but I've got no choice. I have no real cavalry of my own. I'm just going to go charging in with bayonets against his general's bodyguard. That's the cavalry there. My own fault, of course, for not setting a time limit on the game. Should certainly have done that. Means then that instead of the game being over after a certain period of time, I've then got to go and finish him. I've got to have all his units routed before I'm allowed to end the game. Well, I'm going to do end battle. I'm not going to continue because there's no way I can chase him off. I've got nothing that I can do that with, so we'll just end the game there, end the battle there. Well, that was a difficult one to win. It didn't look too hard, but at any point it could have gone. Not paying attention to the flanks or the rears, that battle could have very easily gone his way, there's no doubt about it. Without the chevaux de frise, that would have made the difference as well. So really, it's a case of real acute sort of attention to detail on where his troops are moving around, continually watching the circle down at the bottom to find out where he is on the overall map. Well, that's the end of that turn now. I think it's probably taken a few videos to get through the turn because he attacked me there in Guatemala. Nice to have that threat out of the way though. This is just construction reports, etc. And that's where his troops are. They'll now go wandering around damaging buildings, I'm afraid. I don't want to come out in the open to take him on. I know I've got a slightly superior force now, but I will lose troops doing that. And I could do with really consolidating Guatemala now, I think. So I'm going to raise some troops in here, raise some horse. That will enable me to chase off any artillery that he's got in that force. They're going to become a raiding force now, so I'll call them a raiding force. Just checking on the income for next turn. And see if we can improve ministers to keep down the cost of our military units, or to lower the cost of our town watch, or indeed to increase repression in each of the towns. That's what I'm looking for each time. Let's have a quick check on the regions, just to make sure, to find out which ones are red. And then alter the taxation accordingly.